Today we continue Ariyavasa Sutta from Anguttara Nikaya. First, we have to recite the Pali from that Anguttara Nikaya. Can you follow me? Tasayi me bhikkhave Ariyavasa Yeriya Avasain Suva Avasandiva Avasai Sandiva Katame Dasa Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Pinjinga Vibhina Hodi Chalinga Samanagato Ekareko Sadura Pasino Panona Pichiga Sejo Samawaya Satisano Anawila Singapore Pasada Gaya Singaro Sui Moda Jado Sui Moda Binyo. Can we recite together? Dasa Yime Bhikkhave Ariyavasa Yeriya Avasain Suva Avasandiva Avasai Sandiva Katame Dasa Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Pinjinga Vibhina Hodi Chalinga Samanagato Ekareko Chatura Pasino Panona Pichiga Sejo Samawaya Satisano Anawila Singapore Pasada Gaya Singaro Sui Moda Jado Sui Moda Binyo. Mahasi aphorism, follow me. To abandon the 5 factors, to be fulfilled with the 6 factors, and 1 production, to depend on the 4 supports, and to dispel personal truths, to be free from searching, to have pure thoughts, to calm the in and out breath, to have a well-liberated mind, and well-liberated wisdom. The Buddha expounded the 10 features of Ariyawaza. Ariyavasa, where did the past Ariyas dwelt? The past Buddha, previous Buddha, were Vipassi Buddha, Sikhi Buddha, Visabu Buddha, Kakusanda Buddha, Konagamana Buddha, and Kassapa Buddha. and their disciples are countless. So all these areas in the past dwelt in this Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. How about the present Buddha, present Ariya? During the current dispensation of our Lord Gautama Buddha, and his disciple, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Moggallana, etc. All these areas are still dwelling in this same Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. And future Ariyas, there will be countless areas during the disposition of the future Buddha, such as Middeya Buddha and his disciple. All these areas will dwell in this Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. And Buddha said, Katame Dasa. Katame Dasa. What are the 10s? Ariyavasa Dhamma. Ida Bhikkhve Bhikkhu Pinjinga Vipino Hoti Chalinga Samanagato Ekarakho Satura Pasino Padona Bijika Sijot Samawaya Satisano Anawila Singapore Pasada Gaya Singaro Suwi Moda Jito Suwi Moda Pinyo 10 Ariyavasa. The first one is the bhikkhu, the practitioner, has abandoned 5 factors. Number 2, the bhikkhus or practitioner has been endowed with 6 factors. Number 3, the bhikkhus or practitioner is endowed with 1 protection, 1 guard. Number 4, the practitioner has been endowed with 4 support, has dispelled personal truth, has totally abandoned all suches. The practitioner is endowed with unpolluted thoughts. The practitioner is endowed with tranquilized bodily function. And the practitioner is endowed with well-liberated mind and endowed with well-liberated wisdom. So 10 Ariyavasa Dhamma. Ida Bhikkhve Bhikkhu. Bhikkhu monk, here the practitioner. So all the practitioners can be called Sutta Bhikkhu. So we explain again. Bhikkhu is 2 kinds. One bhikkhu is used in Sutta and another in Vinaya, monastic code. So in the Bodhisattvas, bhikkhu is defined as one who sees the dangers in samsara. He tries to see the true nature. True nature is dukkha, really suffering. The person who see the dangers in samsara, see the dangers in life, see the torturous cycles of birth and death, according to the explanation Sansari Bhaya Ekaditi Bhikkhu. The person who see the dangers in samsara is called bhikkhu. So anyone, whether celestial or human, can be called bhikkhu if you practice Dhamma. In order to be liberated from samsara, the torturous cycle of birth and death, the torturous cycles of suffering. Alternatively, another meaning of bhikkhu is defined as the person who destroys kilesa, mental defilements. If you can destroy mental defilements only by practicing Dhamma, so the more you practice Dhamma, the more mental defilements you can destroy. You don't want any suffering, so you try to practice Dhamma, you try to remove mental defilements, and you determine to come to this center, you determine to practice intensive retreat longer and longer. That is, you don't want any suffering. So you want to remove the mental defilements. So if you practice fully, you can destroy them fully. And if you become an arahant, fully enlightened one, you can destroy all kilesa, you can destroy all mental defilements fully. So what kinds of dhamma you are practicing to remove the mental defilements? That is simple. Sila, Samadhi, Pinya, morality training, morality practice, Samadhi, concentration training, concentration practice, and Pinya, Vipassana knowledge. So in the retreat, you observe 8 precepts. Sila practice, the observance of moral precepts. Through practice of moral training, you destroy the transgressive form of kilesa, vitakama kilesa. When the mental defilements become strong, they are most likely to motivate us to commit transgression like killing, stealing, daily lives, and so on. When kilesa are very, very strong, we can kill, we can steal, we can tell lies, etc. But now you practice 5 precepts. In the retreat, more 8 precepts you observe. So you undertake the training precepts not to kill, not to steal, not to do, not to tell lies, etc. By practicing the moral precepts, by undertaking precepts to refrain from killing, stealing, etc., you destroy such transgressive form of mental defilements. So you practice sila, so you are called bhikkhu, practitioner. And through the concentration practice, moment by moment, you try to develop momentary concentration. Every sitting, every walking, every stretching, bending, every seeing, hearing, etc. You try to practice to develop your momentary concentration. So through the concentration practice, you destroy the mental defilements that would become active in your mind. That is called priyodhana kilesa. In terms of lobha, dosa, moha, etc. So that is obsessive mental defilements you can remove by practicing, by developing concentration. Then pinya, vipassana knowledge, vipassana practice. It is the best one. The vipassana practice, development of mindfulness leaves no room for potential defilements to become active. In this sense, every moment of mindfulness means destroying the potential defilements moment by moment or bit by bit. It is like every X stroke that cuts the unwanted fragments of wood layer by layer. Or it is like every spade scoop that takes out the soil load by load. Sitting, touching, rising, falling. So every rising, every falling, every sitting, you are noting. So at that moment, you are removing mental defilements layer by layer. When you are noting the kinds of physical and mental behavior, kilesa cannot enter into the streams of your mind. So every time you are aware of phenomena that are manifested at the six senses, you are destroying the mental defilements layer by layer. In this sense, every moment of mindfulness means every moment by moment destructions of defilements through the vipassana insight knowledge. So you are dedicated to such removal of mental defilements. So you can be called bhikkhu because you are removing the mental defilements, you are destroying the mental defilements. So that is what bhikkhu means in a Suttanta. So you can be called Suttanta bhikkhu. So here Buddha said, Ida Bhikkhve Bhikkhu. That means practitioner. So Bhikkhu mentioned in the monastic code is called Vinaya Bhikkhu. Now you see the present Sangha, present Bhikkhu. They shave their head, they wear the robe, they ordain as a monk and abide all the monastic rules. For the monks, 227 rules they need to observe. They have to observe rules and regulations for the monks. So during the Buddha times, monks were ordained in many different ways. There were many noble ones who were ordained by the Buddha himself. Buddha addressed them, Ehi Bhikkhu, come on Bhikkhu. As soon as Buddha addressed, that person suddenly turned into a well-dressed monk on that very spot. But in most cases, bhikkhus, monks were those who were ordained by members of the Sangha by reciting the Kamavacha in the present Sangha. You are encountering all Kamavacha bhikkhu. So in this Ariyavasa Sutta, Ida Bhikkhve Bhikkhu, Bhikkhu concerned in this Ariyavasa is the bhikkhu found in the Suttanta. So whether a layperson or monastic, humans or celestial beings, anyone can be called bhikkhu if he or she practice morality, concentration, and wisdom. So here a bhikkhu, the person who sees the dangers of life, dangers of samsara, or who destroys mental defilements, has abandoned 5 factors, Pinchinga Vibhino. So one of the features of the Ariyavasa is Pinchinga Vibhino, having abandoned 5 factors. So Buddha started with the outlines. This is just outlines expounded by the Buddha. Then Buddha will elaborate later so that we can realize what that means. People in the world have a house built to live in. Those who are rich, who are well-to-do, have a huge and luxury house built. But for poor people, their houses are built with palm leaves, thatches, and bamboos, just good enough for the protection from rain and wind. Roofs of such poor houses often get leaked. But rich people, wealthy people have their houses constructed with solid material such as hardwood, bricks, cement, and so on. So rich people have their houses built better and better. Anyhow, the main purpose of a house is protection from danger and perils. Unfortunately, some people are very unlucky. They become homeless. So they live outside. The person would suffer a lot, burned by the sun, wetted by the rain. In the winter time, very cold, afflicted by the wind. So if that person would get sick or even dead for the homeless people, moreover on daily basis, mosquitoes, scorpions, snakes, and so on would bite him. In the worst case scenario, bad people or enemies easily come and hit him or her or even kill him because he is homeless, he is unprotected. Even a stone thrown at random may hit him. So if the person were homeless, he would be exposed to all sorts of dangers and perils. So in order to protect from such dangers, everybody needs a house to live in. In the same way, there are many different kinds of dangers that lie ahead in the cycle of samsara, the rounds of rebirths. Unless we dwell in the Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones, people would be far more horrible than the secular dangers, the dangers related to sun, rain, mosquitoes, stone thrown at random and so on are nothing in comparison with possible danger in samsara. Because there are dangers in this current life, in this present life, but not in any life to come. So really horrible are samsara dukkha, samsara dangers, such as those in apaya dukkha, four woeful realms. If the person be reborn in hell realm, he would suffer there for millions and millions of years. The hell realm is called sapasayadanika. Pasa means contact, eye contact, horrible. The hell beings see very horrible sight. All hell beings are suffering. They are yelling and crying because of their bad karma in the past. Ear contact from the ear, he hear all the noisy sounds. Eye contact, ear contact, nose contact. He smell very, very bad. Foul smell, he have to breathe in because of his bad karma. And tongue contact, he have to eat, he have to drink very, very horrible iron. Hot iron. So a lot of suffering when you drink the kinds of horrible hot iron, and all the touches are very horrible. Plant dog and torturer are torturing them continuously. So these harems are called sapasayatnika. Every seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching are all suffering. They have to suffer millions and millions of years because of the bad karma in their past. So in the same way, Peta, hungry ghosts, would suffer for millions of years. And if reborn as an animal, they have to encounter great amount of suffering also. So even a human beings has to encounter many kinds of dangers. There are many unfortunate people who live far below poverty line. They have to encounter several kinds of suffering like terrible living condition, unkind treatment of people, and so on. Actually, no matter however he or she may be wealthy, millionaire, multi-millionaire, billionaire, he may be or she may be, he or she will unavoidably encounter such suffering as aging, sickness, and death in the end of his or her life. So these are samsara-related dangers we have to encounter if we do not dwell in Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. So all Buddhas and Arahants dwell peacefully in the Ariyavasa, free from all kinds of dangers. That is why fully enlightened Buddha recommends us to dwell in the abode of noble ones, Ariyavasa, in which we can live safely and peacefully. So Buddha expounded this Ariyavasa Sutta. A yogi have very fortunate moment to have a chance to build Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. As you are building this Ariyavasa, as you are practicing this Ariyavasa Dhamma, expounded by the Buddha. So as mentioned earlier, the first features of Ariyavasa, here a bhikkhu, a practitioner who sees the dangers of samsara and destroys mental defilements, has abandoned 5 factors. So we will elaborate how to abandon 5 factors later. For the time being, however, we should try to guess ahead of time what the 5 factor would be and how we can get rid of these 5 factors. So just guess. For that purpose, Buddha first mentioned just a heading, not in detail. And then Buddha mentioned the second features, Chalinga Samanagato. A bhikkhu practitioner has been endowed with 6 factors. This means practitioner have to practice until you are endowed with 6 factors. A normal house, for example, consists of certain kinds of parts like post, beam, palen, rafter, roof, floor, walls, doors, windows, and many more. If it's a bricks house, it would be built on the concrete foundation, decorated with such infrastructure as curtains, screen, electric lamps, air conditioning, heater, and so on. So in the same way, the Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones, has 6 factors or 6 parts. So Buddha just mentioned Chalinga Samanagado. You must have endowed with 6 factors. Practitioner has been endowed with 6 factors. And the third features of Ariyavasa is Ekareko. A practitioner is endowed with 1 protection, 1 gut. Wealthy people or powerful people normally keep guards at their houses to ensure security of their lives and properties. In the same way, the abode of noble ones has a guard for the protection from enemies of mental defilements. So for these 3 features, Mahasi Sayadaw have this aphorism: to abandon 5 factors, to be endowed with 6 factors, and 1 protection. This is Mahasi Sayadaw aphorism to translate the Buddha Buddha teaching. So first 3 features of the abode of noble ones, and the 4th and 5th features of the abode of noble ones are Chatura Pasino, to be endowed with four supports. And number 5, Panona Pichika Sicho, to dispel personal truths. Regarding the 5 features, to dispel personal truths, there are many people. They claim their doctrine were true. Many people who claim their doctrine to be only truth, it is their presumption. They are actually based on their own presumption, but not on fact. So such doctrines are called Picheka Sicha, personal truths. So here Buddha mentioned to dispel personal truths. So Mahasi aphorism, to be endowed with 4 supports and to dispel personal truths. And 6 and 7 features of Ariyavasa are Samavaya Sattisano, to be totally finished with all suches. Number 7, Anawila Singapore, to be endowed with unpolluted thoughts. So number 6 is Samavaya Sattisano. That Pali is quite difficult to understand. It is a compound of 4 words. Samavaya Sattisano. Sam Avaya Satta Isana. Properly, fully abandon such. We never satisfy, always searching for something, searching for something. So here, totally finished with all suches. So properly, fully abandon such, that refer to Ariyas, noble ones, who has abandoned all kinds of such fully and properly. The search for something implies want of something, whereas abandonment of all suches means want of nothing or fulfillment. And the 7th features is to be endowed with unpolluted thoughts. This means your mind is not cloudy, your mind is always clear and devoid of confusion. And now we love Singapore, endowed with unpolluted thoughts. And number 8 features is Pasada Gaya Sinkaro, to be endowed with tranquilized bodily function. The 8 features of Ariyavasa is to be endowed with tranquilized bodily functions. The bodily function, Kaya Sankara, here referred to in and out breath. Your breath is entirely tranquilized when you are absorbed in the fourth jhana, the fourth stage of highly developed concentration. So by this phrase, yogis are encouraged to attain the fourth jhana. But it is not a requirement, but just a preference, because there are many areas, many noble ones who have become fully enlightened, arhata, without the attainment of fourth jhana. So in order to become an arahant, most important is to get rid of mental defilements. So Mahasi Sayadaw have this aphorism: to be finished with all suches, to be endowed with unpolluted thoughts, and with tranquilized breath. And the last two features are Ariyavasa, a Suvimutta Citta, to be endowed with well-liberated mind, and Suvimutta Pinya, to be endowed with well-liberated wisdom. So through the mega enlightenment, your mind is well liberated from mental defilements. Mental defilements always behave like our master, our boss, our dictators. Our master, our dictators are very, very evil. They are kilesa, mental defilements. So our master, kilesa, make our mind dirty. So they are called kilesa. So these dictators torment our mind, so they are called kilesa. If we are mindful, we can remove this kilesa. First, we need to see, we need to watch that kilesa, and then note again and again, and these kilesa can be removed. These master or these dictator can be removed part by part. So evil master, evil dictators are 10. They are loba, attachment, dosa, evil, moha, ignorance, mana, pride, deity, wrong view, vijikaja, doubt, tina, sloth, odija, restlessness, ahirika, shamelessness, anuttaba, fearlessness. So long as we're not mindful, these master are there, the master are with us, and they torment our mind. So when you practice mindfulness meditation, you can be liberated from these evil master temporarily, momentarily, and finally totally you can be liberated. So 10 master, 10 kilesa need to understand, need to remember. Can you follow me? Loba, dosa, moha, mana, deti, vichikecha, tina, odija, ahirika, anuttaba. So loba, attachment, desire, craving, they are our master, they are our dictators. Many lives, they behave like our master. And dosa, depression, discouragement, they are always with that when we encounter undesirable object. More ignorance, mana, pride, deity, wrong views, vichikecha, doubt, tina, sloth, odija, restlessness, airika, shamelessness, and nuttaba, fearlessness. So they behave like our master, and when your mind is liberated, you will appreciate its liberation right afterwards. So such appreciative insight is here considered well-liberated wisdom. So these two features are mutually related. The liberation of your mind is always followed by the appreciative insight knowledge of it. So Mahasi Sayadaw have this aphorism: to be endowed with well-liberated mind and well-liberated wisdom. So of course it is the fully enlightened Buddha himself has taught them. So Mahasi Sayadaw have this aphorism: these are 10 features of Ariyavasa, the fully enlightened Buddha expounded. So we have touched on the outlines of discourse on Ariyavasa. Now we are going to elaborate each of them according to the order of headings mentioned above. We are supposed to start our elaboration with how to abandon 5 factors. Because the first one is to abandon 5 factors. But in line with the order of practice, what we have to start? We have to start it with the third features, ekareko, to be endowed with a single God, to be endowed with single protection, so that practitioner can understand the discourse better from practical point of view. So just as wealthy people or powerful people keep guards at their houses to ensure their security, So also there is a God at the abode of noble ones. So he had to explain what a single God, what a single protection means. Fully enlightened Buddha posed a question. Before he gives answer, so Buddha asks this question, Katinja Bhikkhu Eka Hoti. Bhikkhus, how is a bhikkhu endowed with a single protection? Buddha asked the question and then he answered. Ida bhikkhu bhikkhu satta rakhina chitasa samanagato hoti. Bhikkhus, a bhikkhu practitioner is endowed with a mind guarded by mindfulness. The guard of protection at the abode of noble ones is sati, mindfulness. So if you want to dwell that noble house, noble abode, practitioner need to have your mind guarded by sati, mindfulness. So in this sense, the fully enlightened Buddha said, a practitioner is endowed with every single state of mind guarded by mindfulness. So it is only an arahant. Arahant can be endowed with perfect mindfulness. So the arahant is mindful of whatever he or she does physically, verbally, or mentally. So arahant's mind is thus well guarded by mindfulness. Being mindful constantly, he or she never does anything bad. He or she never speaks anything wrong or harmful to other people. And he or she never think of anything sinful. So that is why an arahant is praised. Charato Chewa Satatan Samitan Jnana Dasana Pichu Patitan. When going, arahant is constantly endowed with knowledge and vision. When standing, sleeping, or awakening, he or she is constantly endowed with knowledge and vision. So this quotation includes sleeping, but this is rather impossible and it may refer to his or her mindfulness just before falling asleep and immediately after waking up. So arahant totally falls asleep. When arahant totally falls asleep, it is impossible for mindfulness or insight knowledge to arise. So for sure, it does not mean that in any case, we should know that arahants always has his or her thoughts protected by mindfulness, guarded by mindfulness, no matter whatever he or she is doing or speaking or thinking of. So the mindfulness does not suddenly lead to the full enlightenment, like something that suddenly appears out of nowhere, but it gradually develops to its peak. So Arahant attains perfect mindfulness. Thanks to the mindfulness he or she had developed as an anagami. In the same way, an anagami mindfulness is almost perfect, but that is also attributed to the mindfulness he or she had developed as sakadagami. And again, sakadagami mindfulness must be credited to the mindfulness developed as a sotapanna. Of course, sotapanna mindfulness is very remarkable in comparison with that of Puthujjana, common people. So thanks to such significant mindfulness, Sotapanna's mental refinements are never strong enough to commit evil deeds that can lead to woeful states. So to become a Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Nagami, and Arahant, the only protection is mindfulness, satta, rakina, chitasa. So we have to explain that characteristic function and the manifestations of mindfulness and the benefits of mindfulness. And this time we have to stop our discourse for today. May you build the Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones. May you practice the Ariyavasa Dhamma. May you practice Vipassana meditation diligently by noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, sitting, hearing, smelling continuously and meticulously, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. So, we have to recite Mahasatipatthana Odisa Pali. Ekayano ayam bhikkhave mego sadanam visodiyam sogabari devanam samadegamaya Yoga domanasana hatingamaya nyayasa adigamaya nibanasa sachikiriyaya yadidam Jadaram Sadivadana Gadame Jadaram Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Kaye Kayanubasi Viharati Adapi Sambhajano Satima Vineya Loke Abhija Domanasam Vedanasu Vedananubasi Viharati Hadavi Sambhajana Satima Vineya Loke Avijja Domanasam Jete Jaitanubasi Viharati Adapi Sambhajana Satima Vineya Loke Avijja Domanasam Dhammesu Dhammanubasi Viharati Adapi Sambhajanam Saddhima Vinayam Loke Avijja Domanasam. English translation. This is the only way, bhikkhus, for the purifications of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for reaching the noble path, for the realizations of nirvana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. What are the four? Here in this teaching, bhikkhus, thus contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu dwell contemplating the feeling in the feelings, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu dwells contemplating the consciousness in the consciousness, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, desire and discontent in the world. Letting the Dhamma in the Dhammas, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Honoring and sharing merits. Imaya Dhammanu Dhammapatipattiya Bodham Bujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhammapatipattiya Dhammam Bujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhammapatipattiya Sangham Bujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Mata Vidara Ujemi Himaya Dhammani Dhamma Patipatiya Acariye Pujemi Adai Maya Patipataya Jara Maranama Parimojayasami Idame Punyam Asavakaya Vaham Hodu Dame Silam Megavalanya Pajaya Hodu Imano Punya Bhagam Sabha Sadhanam Demam Sabe Saddha Sukhita Hondu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu